With so many people reserving the Cybertruck out there, I'm sure it's going to be a very common question for the next couple years. When do I get mine? Okay, when are deliveries gonna be ready? And how long would it take to receive a Cybertruck if you reserved one today? Well, in today's video, I did want to debunk a lot of myths out there that a lot of people are assuming because of how pre-orders for certain products have gone in the past. They just assume the Cybertruck will behave in the same way. But thanks to how Tesla has handled pre-orders in the past, we understand that this is gonna be a little bit different than you'd expect. The most general assumption I've seen most people have is that the person who ordered the Cybertruck first, whoever was refreshing Tesla's website and hit that order now button, as soon as they drove it off stage with that shattered glass, that guy's getting his Cybertruck first, and everyone who was there and reserving one right away, or anyone who was watching the live stream and refreshed the website just at the right moment, those guys are getting the Cybertruck first, right? And then the people who are just now deciding, you know what, it is kind of cool, I think I'll put a reservation down. The people reserving one today, they're gonna have to wait years because, you know, they're 1 million in line and they have to wait till everybody else's order gets fulfilled before they get theirs, right? This has actually not been the case with Model Y pre-orders especially, and even the Model 3. Tesla does not deliver vehicles in order of who reserved what first, because in Tesla's mind, it makes a lot more sense for them to deliver Cybertrucks in batches based on your geographic location, which does actually mean that people that are closer to the Giga Texas factory are most likely going to be getting their Cybertrucks way earlier than people who reserved them who live in California or live on the East Coast. And even worse news for those of you in other countries, the Cybertruck's main target demographic is North America. Elon made that very clear on a podcast interview he just did, saying that, you know, because there's millions of pickup trucks sold in North America compared to a couple 100,000 in Europe, the Cybertruck will not be built in Giga Texas and then shipped overseas to those markets. They've said repeatedly on the website and in interviews that the Cybertruck prototype, the one that everyone got to see for themselves, that's for the US market, and they are most likely going to be building a smaller one for both Europe, and when they probably do end up releasing the Cybertruck for China, I also expect that model to be a little bit different, and they will absolutely be building it in Giga Shanghai. They won't be shipping them overseas. So that means if you're from Australia, United Kingdom, Germany, or China, you guys are likely not going to be getting your Cybertrucks within the same year as the first deliveries, because they're going to need a whole different assembly line, a whole different manufacturing plant at Giga Shanghai, at Giga Berlin, in order to bring the Cybertruck there. So when we're talking about first delivery starting at the end of next year, I hope you guys realize I'm referring to the US market, okay? Because they more than likely, just like the Model Y, they want to build those cars in the markets they are serving. They don't want to waste all this money on shipping these giant trucks overseas for those demographics. The US market is going to be prioritized because there's so many pickup truck owners here. This is the target demographic, so Europe is not the priority here. And the pickup truck market in China is growing, but it is by no means the priority, which means that, again, the closer you are to the factory, likely, the closer you are to getting your Cybertruck, which does mean, in fact, that if you happen to live near Texas, or especially near the Giga Texas location, you have a good chance of ordering one today and still being in partially the first wave of Cybertruck deliveries, because in Tesla's mind, it makes the most amount of sense for them to say, hey, we completed this many deliveries in Q4, and that is made partially by the fact that they can deliver those vehicles to consumers very, very quickly, which is why on Reddit, I've seen tons of people say that they ordered their Model Y and they're in California and they got delivery in like 2 to 3 weeks, whereas there's people who reserved the Model Y on opening night, you know, the day Tesla announced it and unveiled it to the world and started taking reservations. Those people still haven't got their Model Ys because they're in a part of the US where Tesla has not made a bulk delivery yet. It's not really the same thing as, you know, smartphone pre-orders where companies can drop their phone or their product of some kind off by a carrier and just ship it to everyone at the same time. Vehicles are big and they're heavy and they're expensive to move around, and the sooner Tesla is able to deliver a vehicle to the consumer, the sooner they're able to recognize that revenue. So from a logical standpoint, you probably have a large bulk of Cybertruck reservations in California. You've already got a lot of Tesla owners here. It's a very populated state as is, but if all the trucks are being built in Texas, it wouldn't really make sense for them to be like, okay, we build a bunch of trucks, here's our first batch of dual motors and tri-motors and all that. Now, because everyone who first reserved one was in California, we have to ship this entire batch over there because that's where the bulk of reservations are. Spending all that money on moving all those trucks halfway across the country doesn't really make sense because it would take them longer to recognize that revenue, and of course to move all of them would be more more expensive. So at least with the first wave of vehicles, it makes most amount of sense for Tesla to start massive deliveries the closest they can to the factory. And of course, the big question here is, how is Giga Texas going to work when currently Tesla is not allowed to sell their vehicles directly to consumers there from the manufacturer? So a lot of people are assuming that because Tesla has so much government and state support over there, they're hoping to get that law changed before Giga Texas is operational, and I'm really hoping they can act on that quick, because if the law doesn't change, it's going to be a very stupid situation where Tesla will have to build the Cybertrucks, take them out of Texas, and then bring them back in order to legally deliver these vehicles to the people that are, you know, around the factory. You could live 10 minutes away from Giga Texas, and if the law that is currently in place doesn't change, they would have to take the Cybertrucks out of state, then bring them back in. It's very dated law, it's very stupid, and I'm sure that there's plenty of people that work for Texas's government as well as Tesla that are trying to change this law as soon as they can. But if it's still in place, then that means you might be in better luck if you live in Oklahoma or just live right outside of Texas, because then Tesla will be able to legally deliver that Cybertruck to you in a timely and less expensive fashion. And I hate to deliver this bad news to those of you who are probably in the high north parts of the United States and you're really excited for your Cybertruck. You could have even reserved one on day one, but if you're far away from the factory, I don't expect Tesla to prioritize you. And as we talked about in previous videos, I'm still not even sure if the single motor Cybertruck is even going to exist. But in our current state, I will reiterate that the first Cybertrucks going into production are the dual motor and tri-motor options. Tesla still states on their website that the single motor Cybertruck won't go into production until the end of 2022, but again, they've changed their plans on entry-level models before, so I wouldn't be surprised if they end up canceling that version. Though I do expect, because the tri-motor is supposed to be going 500 miles and it requires a massive battery pack, whereas the dual motor can go 300 miles and that's kind of average with Teslas today, I do expect the dual motor Cybertruck deliveries to begin first. In case you weren't aware, the prototype Cybertruck that everyone has seen that Tesla's driven around, this is a dual motor, it's not a tri-motor, so that means that tri-motor production is still kind of in the conceptual phase. It's like, on paper it should work, but when it comes to working prototypes, it sounds like the dual motor is the only one that they really know how to do right now, which is why I would expect that if any of you have reserved a dual motor and live by Giga Texas, you're in the best case scenario of getting your vehicle delivered first. Doesn't really matter when you ordered it, whether it was 6 months ago or a day ago or on pre-order opening night last November. Your place in line won't change how Tesla prioritizes your vehicle delivery. I know that sucks for some of you, but it's also good news if you're fairly close to the factory. And I imagine the tri-motor, because it requires bigger battery packs and a little bit of a different mass manufacturing technique than Tesla is used to currently, that one will likely come out a month or two after the dual motor. This is speculation on my part, it's just a guess. But once they come out, it's going to be fascinating to see them driving around on city streets, and we could even see trial production begin a year from now in Q3. So the prototype sightings will be absolutely fantastic to see. But let me know when you guys think you'll get your Cybertruck by hitting me up over on Twitter. Join my Discord. Let's chat more about it there. Thank you all for watching. Hope you have an excellent day. Take care.